All right, so let's get right into it. Today we're talking about something really important, but often completely unseen. We're looking at what happens at the intersection of being a teenage girl with AuDHD, that's having both autism and ADHD, and how that, unfortunately, can make someone more vulnerable to things like exploitation or coercive control in relationships. Now, this isn't about blaming anyone. It's about understanding these hidden dynamics so we can actually build a real path to safety.
And when you look at the research, the numbers are pretty staggering. Studies have shown that women with ADHD are almost 5 times more likely to experience abuse from an intimate partner compared to women who don't have ADHD. I mean, that's not just a small difference. That's a huge signal that something much deeper is happening here.
So that leads us to the two big questions for today. First, why? Why does this increased risk even exist? And maybe even more importantly, what on earth can we do to change it? We're going to unpack this whole thing, from the root of the problem to some really practical, empowering ways to start reversing these patterns.
To really get the why, you have to see this as a kind of perfect storm. This isn't about some kind of personal flaw or weakness. It's about a collision. It's what happens when a person's internal, neurodivergent way of being crashes right into really powerful external pressures, specifically the social conditioning that gets aimed at girls and young women.
Think about this fundamental conflict. On one hand, society often teaches girls to be agreeable, to be passive, to make sure everyone else is comfortable. But on the other hand, you have common AuDHD traits like literal thinking, a deep need for things to be clear, and really intense emotional responses. That clash creates this constant grinding friction, a feeling that you're just always getting it wrong, which can lead to a lifetime of trying to suppress who you actually are.
And right at the core of this internal pressure is something called rejection-sensitive dysphoria, or RSD. Now, this isn't just about having your feelings hurt. It's an absolutely overwhelming, painful, emotional reaction to the perception of being rejected or criticized. For someone with RSD, disapproval doesn't just sting, it can feel like a total catastrophe, like your entire world is collapsing.
And this quote just nails how that intense internal experience gets treated by the outside world. That very real, very painful reaction is so often just brushed off. When you're constantly told that your authentic feelings are too much or too dramatic, you eventually start to believe that your own internal compass is fundamentally broken.
So you see, it's not just one thing. It's a whole bunch of factors piling on top of each other. You've got the challenge of trying to read really subtle, often unspoken neurotypical social cues. You've got the difficulty of even figuring out what your own needs and boundaries are in the first place. Then there's the tendency to take things literally, including some pretty harmful social scripts. Add in a struggle to perceive danger or others' true intentions, and often a history of trauma, and you can see how this perfect storm of vulnerability really starts to build.
So, if you feel like you're constantly navigating a world that isn't built for your brain, what do? Well, you adapt. And that adaptation brings us to a really key idea: masking. And we need to be clear, this isn't a character flaw. It's a highly intelligent, creative survival strategy.
Masking is basically the exhausting, full-time job of performing neurotypicality. It's consciously squashing the urge to fidget or forcing yourself to make eye contact, even if it feels painful. It's mimicking the social behaviors you see other people doing, all in this constant effort to fit in and avoid that deep, deep fear of rejection.
And this quote from Meredith, man, it just makes the impact so painfully clear. All those years of wearing a mask just to fit into that good girl box, it doesn't just change how you act. It fundamentally erodes your sense of who you are. Your own boundaries get all blurry because all your energy is going toward meeting outside expectations, not listening to your own internal needs.
And this constant performance, it comes with a huge cost. You could call it the mask tax. It leads to this deep, chronic burnout, a feeling that you've lost your authentic self, and probably most dangerously, a major disconnection from your own feelings and the signals your body is sending you. You can't possibly know what you need if you've spent your entire life training yourself to ignore those signals.
Okay, so this is where we pivot. If the problem is being disconnected from yourself, then the path to safety has to be about reconnection. It's all about learning how to reclaim that internal compass by, you guessed it, learning to listen to the wisdom of your own body and your real feelings.
This right here is the guiding principle. This is the goal. After years of being told what you should do by society, by family, by everyone, the aim is to let your body have the final say. Not social rules, not what you think you're supposed to do, but the raw physical data your body gives you from moment to moment.
So what does that even feel like? Well, these are some of your body's early warnings that a boundary is being crossed. It's not always some loud, blaring alarm. Sometimes it's that subtle tightness in your chest, or that sudden, urgent need to jump in and fix someone else's problem, or that little spike of guilt that pops up when you even think about prioritizing your own needs over their comfort.
But let's be real for a second. If this was so easy, everybody would be doing it. So if our bodies are sending out these signals, why is it so incredibly difficult to actually hear them, let alone act on them?
Well, because this disconnection is learned. We aren't born this way. Years and years of masking literally teaches you to actively ignore your body's gut feelings. Trauma can teach your brain to just numb everything out as a survival tactic. And, of course, social conditioning relentlessly tells girls and women that their feelings are illogical, invalid, or just plain too dramatic.
Okay, so for our last section, let's get really practical. How do we actually start to build a new habit? This is all about the actual steps you can take to move from that automatic, compulsive people-pleasing to a place of conscious choice and personal sovereignty.
And please, hear this part, because it's so important. Setting boundaries is not about becoming cold or selfish. It's about getting out of autopilot. It's about shifting from a compulsive, fear-based reaction to a place where you get to choose how and when you offer your care. That's how you protect your energy and your well-being. So here are 3 things you can literally start practicing. First, when you feel that urge to please or fix, just name it in your head. There's my people-pleasing pattern. That simple act creates a little bit of space. Second, build in a pause. Have a go-to phrase like, let me think about that and get back to you. It buys you precious seconds to check in with your body. And third, question if it's even your job. Ask yourself, is this actually my responsibility to solve?
This chart really shows you what that internal shift sounds like. It's about actively rewriting the automatic script in your head. So instead of, I have to fix this right now, you practice, let me get back to you. Instead of taking over for others, you can think, I trust them to figure this out. And you move from believing my value only comes from being helpful to knowing, deep down, I am allowed to just exist, even when I'm not helping anyone.
And really, it all comes down to this powerful idea. Think of it as a new mantra. Your care, your time, your energy, these are gifts you choose to give, not some kind of debt you owe the world just for taking up space.
So I want to leave you with this question to carry with you. So much of that compulsive pleasing pattern is driven by a deep fear of how someone else will react. So just take a moment and ask yourself, honestly, if you took that fear away, if the response didn't matter, what would you do differently? What would you finally say no to? And what would you finally say yes to, just for you?